It was a brisk evening, the kind that prompts people to rush home. But for one woman, home was a worn bench beside the street, and warmth came solely from the layers of worn clothing she had managed to collect. She was without shelter, overlooked by most, just another forgotten individual in the bustling city. However, she was unaware that a chance meeting with a stranger would transform everything, not just for her, but also for one of the wealthiest men in the world. The stranger was none other than Elon Musk, and what occurred next would astonish everyone. Elon Musk, famous for his ambitious goals to colonize Mars and transform transportation with electric vehicles, wasn't the type of person one would expect to see wandering the streets alone. Yet that evening, seeking to clear his mind after a particularly overwhelming day, he opted for an impromptu walk through an area of town he seldom frequented. His security detail was absent, and for the first time in a long time, he felt anonymous as he walked past dimly lit alleyways. His gaze fell on an elderly woman sitting on a bench, her head down as she wrapped herself tighter in a tattered blanket. Her frail hands shook as she endeavored to keep warm. For a brief moment, Elon hesitated, but then instinctively approached her, feeling an urge inside him to check if she needed assistance. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Elon asked, gently, lowering himself to her level. The woman lifted her head, her weathered face revealing signs of surprise. I'm fine, dear," she answered, her voice barely audible. "Just trying to make it through another night." Oh. What happened next was a moment of genuine humanity. Elon, known for his intellect and success, found himself face to face with someone who had nothing. Without a second thought, he reached into his pocket, pulled out some cash, and handed it to her. However, instead of accepting the money, the woman looked up at him with piercing eyes, filled with the kind of wisdom that comes only from enduring life's toughest challenges. "You seem like you've got a lot on your mind, young man," she remarked, her voice more steady now. "Money can't resolve everything, you know." Elon was taken aback by her remarks. In his world, money resolved issues. It built rockets, funded research, and transformed industries. But standing before this homeless woman, he recognized that there were many things it could not remedy. She wasn't seeking charity or a handout. She was offering something far more precious: empathy. "You remind me of my son," she continued. "He was always too preoccupied with work, always rushing, pursuing something, but never really pausing to live. You seem like him." Elon, uncharacteristically quiet, sat beside her. For the first time in a long while, he didn't feel like the CEO of several companies or the man burdened with the weight of the world. He was simply a person engaging in a genuine conversation with someone who had experienced a life far different from his own. The old woman, whose name he learned was Maggie, recounted her story. She had lost her family, her home, and everything she once cherished. Yet she hadn't lost her spirit. She still found reasons to smile even on the toughest days. "I may not have much, but I'm still here," she said with a laugh. "And that's something, isn't it?" These days. Moved by her resilience, Elon spent hours conversing with Maggie, listening to her stories of life and loss. As the night turned colder, he offered her a place to stay for the night, but she declined. "I've made it this far," she said with a wink. "I'll be just fine." The following morning, Elon awoke to a barrage of missed calls and emails. His night with Maggie had been one of reflection, and he nearly forgot his responsibilities. However, something about the encounter lingered with him, and as he prepared for his day, he couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to do more. He resolved to explore local shelters and support services, hoping to find Maggie and provide more lasting assistance. What transpired next was something even Elon Musk could not have anticipated. When he reached his office later that day, his assistant greeted him with an urgent message. "You need to see this," she said, handing him a tablet. On the screen was an article that had gone viral overnight. It featured a photo of him and Maggie sitting on that bench, engaged in conversation. A passerby had taken the picture and shared it on social media, captioning it, "Billionaire Elon Musk seen with homeless woman late at night. What could they be discussing?" But that wasn't the surprise. The surprise came when Elon read the comments beneath the post. One user had recognized Maggie. She wasn't just any homeless woman. She was a former scientist who had worked in the early stages of space exploration decades ago, before losing everything. She had been a pioneer in the very field that Elon now led. Elon could hardly believe it. How had this woman, with so much knowledge and experience, ended up on the streets? His dad. He immediately set out to locate her, driven by more than just the desire to assist. He wanted to grasp her story, her contributions, and how someone so significant could have slipped through the cracks. Days later, Elon found Maggie again, and this time he wasn't merely offering help. He was offering her a chance to reconnect with the world she had once belonged to. In a private meeting away from cameras and public scrutiny, Elon invited Maggie to visit SpaceX to meet with his team and share her insights from the past. What began as a simple act of kindness had come full circle. Maggie, the homeless woman who had nothing, had once played a role in establishing the very foundations of the space industry. And now, thanks to that single moment of human connection, her narrative was being rewritten. However, it wasn't as simple as just resuming where she left off. Maggie had lived a long life since those early days in the space sector, and her knowledge, though once cutting edge, was now outdated in a rapidly evolving field. Yet Elon was not solely interested in her technical proficiency. He saw something deeper in Maggie, something that couldn't be quantified by any resume or accomplishment, a resilience and wisdom that emerged from years of enduring the harshest of life's challenges. Maggie was reluctant. Initially, the idea of returning to a world that had left her behind filled her with anxiety. She hadn't been in a lab or an office for decades, and the thought of stepping into SpaceX, one of the most advanced space exploration companies globally, felt surreal. However, Elon was persistent. He arranged private meetings with the team, away from the usual media scrutiny that accompanied him. He wanted Maggie to feel at ease, to understand that her experiences, both scientific and personal, were valued. When she finally agreed, the day she entered SpaceX was met with quiet amazement. The engineers and scientists were informed of none of her past, only that she had once been part of the early space programs. Some, intrigued by her presence, began asking questions, eager to learn about the bygone days of space exploration. Initially hesitant, Maggie gradually started sharing stories from her time working on projects that had long been forgotten by most. She recounted the challenges they faced with rudimentary technology, the optimism of that era, and how everything felt like a leap into the unknowns. As she spoke, the room grew quieter, with the younger engineers hanging on to her every word. Maggie had been part of something extraordinary, pioneering efforts that had established the groundwork for the breakthroughs they were achieving now. It was a humbling moment for everyone in the room, including Elon, who sat quietly observing her command the space, just as she had likely done in her younger years. But what Elon didn't expect was how profoundly Maggie's story would resonate throughout the entire company. Her struggles, both personal and professional, weren't merely tales of hardship. They were lessons in perseverance, adaptability, and hope. Inspired by her, several team members began revisiting old research papers, some of which Maggie herself had worked on, and they started to realize that there were ideas long abandoned that could be reconsidered with the advanced technology they now possessed. Maggie's presence at SpaceX began to expand. Beyond just an advisory role, although she wasn't involved in the daily technical operations, she became a mentor to the junior engineers. They would often seek her out during breaks, asking her about her life, her insights on current challenges, and sometimes simply to hear her recount tales from a time when space exploration was a dream shared by only a few courageous individuals. Her influence extended beyond the technical aspects of the company. She became a symbol of something much larger, a reminder that no matter how far someone falls, there's always a chance to rise again. It wasn't long before her story, now intertwined with Elon Musk's, began to circulate beyond the walls of SpaceX. The media, always eager for a compelling narrative, quickly picked up on it. Maggie, who had once been invisible on the streets, now found herself in the spotlight. But this time, it wasn't just for a fleeting moment. Journalists sought her out for interviews, eager to learn about her past, her contributions to early space programs, and how she ended up without a home. She spoke openly, not shying away from the darker aspects of her story, losing her job during a downsizing, the death of her family, and ultimately her descent into poverty. But what astonished the world the most was how someone with such talent, such brilliance, could slip through the cracks so easily. This sparked a broader conversation about the fragility of success, about how even the brightest minds can be overlooked when systems fail to support them. Elon, moved by the attention her story was garnering, made it a priority to stress the importance of caring for the people behind the innovations. He used Maggie's narrative as a catalyst for change within his own companies, advocating for better support systems for employees during and after their careers. As the months passed, Maggie's life transformed in ways she never thought possible. She was no longer the homeless woman on the bench. She was a respected figure sought after for her wisdom and experience. Elon, true to his word, provided her with a home and financial support, ensuring she never had to struggle again. But more than the material changes, it was the respect she regained, the sense of purpose that brought her the most happiness. For Elon, meeting Maggie had been more than just a chance encounter. It had been a pivotal moment. He realized that success wasn't solely about the next big project or the next technological breakthrough. It was about people, about the stories that often go untold, and about how even in a world driven by progress, it's the human connections that matter most. In the end, Maggie's story wasn't just rewritten. It became a powerful reminder to the world that everyone has value, that no one is truly forgotten, and that sometimes the most significant contributions come from the most unexpected places.